In this video, we're going to talk about our first principle for kids' church. And here it is: prioritize safety. Here's why this is our first principle for kids' church. I don't know about you, but I don't want to show up to a church and feel like I'm dropping my kids off in a war zone. I don't want to feel like, are my kids going to be safe? Is anyone paying any attention to them? Is it kind of a free-for-all, or is it a structured environment? So safety is a very important thing to have in your kids' church ministry. So that's why it's our first principle. So here's what we mean by that. Let's unpack that a little bit. The first thing is you want to start with a good first impression. So when that family walks into your church building, you want them to know where they're supposed to go. You want to have signage so they know where's the kids' church wing or the hallway, or where's the classrooms. And when they walk to that door of your classroom, you want to make sure that the classroom looks clean, things look organized, that there's adults in the room keeping control of the situation, that someone is standing there to greet you at the door and to make sure your kids feel comfortable and you feel comfortable. Safety starts with a good first impression. If they walk up to a classroom door and kids are running around like crazy animals and there's really no adult supervision going on, then that is not giving off a feeling of safety, that this is a safe place for people to drop their kids. So that first impression is really important to remember. Here's the second thing to know about safety and how you need to prioritize it in your kids' church ministry, is that it's based on your policies and procedures at your church. You need to make sure you have a kids' church policy in place. And we have one in our leader downloads if you'd like to take a look at that, or if your church may have their own policy that they use. But having a policy in place of what is it about our kids' church environment? How many adults do we have in a classroom? What do we do about bathroom breaks? Having rules about adults never being alone with kids. Those are all really important things to have in your policy for safety purposes. And to have procedures of how does the classroom work? If you have a large group space and you move from one area of the church building to another, what are our procedures? How do we get kids safely from point A to point B? Do we have check-in procedures? How do we do drop-off and pick-up with kids and parents? These are all really important things that you need to have clear policies in place, clear procedures, and to make sure that the volunteers, understand what those are. So that's an important part of any training that you do, that you take the time to read those policies, sign the policies, and understand procedures. Because again, that's the second important thing about prioritizing safety, is that you have rules, that you have boundaries with which volunteers are operating. And those policies and procedures help you to do that. Here's the third thing about prioritizing safety: that safety frees your volunteers to serve with confidence. So make sure to spend some time talking about that, thinking through how your church prioritizes safety. Make sure you talk about those policies and procedures and have those in place, because at the end of the day, this is so important. You need to know that the safety policies are in place as much for you as a volunteer as it is for the kids. What we would never want to have happen in any church setting, and this has happened across our country, that one infraction, one child that's hurt or eats something in a classroom that they shouldn't have, or heaven forbid, a volunteer does something inappropriate with a child, churches close over that because lawsuits come into place and nothing good comes from that. So those policies and procedures and prioritizing safety is as much for the protection of the volunteer as it is for the kids. That you know that you can serve in this ministry and be free to do it with confidence and to have fun doing it, because you're being protected as much as the kids. That's the whole point of prioritizing safety. So make sure to look in those leader downloads for your kids' church policy that we provide at pursueGOD. Your church may have their own, and even a copy of a background check that is also very important in the safety policy, that you have a background check for all volunteers that work with kids at your church. So take some time, think about safety, and learn more about that so you know how to serve with confidence in your kids' church ministry.